everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tuong, the spooky edition, week 4 of the Spookening in the PodCavern. And what better way to end October than to have the King Boo himself of Spookstober. Last week we had Christine Shadid and she was the queen, but now we have the king himself, Paul JP. Hello.
Hey. How's it going?
It's going good. How is your Spookstober going?
It's going pretty great, actually. And I will say King Boo is quite a title.
Do you like that?
I do really like that. Yeah.
I picture you as the Mario King Boo, if you know what I mean, like the giant ghost with the crown on its head.
Yeah. I haven't played enough of Luigi's Mansion 3. I got it last year, and I put it down about halfway through, and I haven't got back to it. And every now and again, I see it on my shelf. I feel kind of sad. Yeah, it's all right. It's I really loved Luigi's Mansion 2 is the thing. Oh, and the structure of this one is so different. It feels a little less challenging was the thing.
Right. So. Right. Well, it seems like a good time to pick it up again, considering it is October. Yeah. Are you bummed that this is we were talking to Christine last week, and she said you guys were doing this is the 7th year of Spookstober.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we've been. I mean, we say this big thing we've been doing for 7 years, but really, it's just us posting weird memes or comics on each other's Facebook wall, and that's pretty much all the responsibility that we have.
But it's a daily responsibility. It's I know you guys take turns, but I always look forward to it from I'm like, oh yeah, look, they're at it again, which is really great because it's what's the spooky meme today, or what movie did Paul watch today? I think it's really entertaining.
It's a nice ritual. It really makes the month feel a little more special. It really, it juices up the season. Nice. I like it. Obviously.
Well, happy to have you on the podcast. I will say, you've been watching, just from a distance, I'm seeing that you've been watching basically, is it a movie a day?
Yeah.
Or you watch, is it really?
Yeah. This is my 4th attempt at it, of watching a scary or scary adjacent movie, one every day in the month of October. So the first year I did it was, I guess it would have 2017, and I managed to do it. I got a movie every day. And then the year after that, I decided I'm going to do it where every day it's going to be a movie I haven't seen before. And that's been kind of the theme that I've been rolling with, but I blew it pretty quick in 2018. And then in 2019, I was working 80 hours a week. So I didn't manage to get anywhere near the goal.
Yeah. But this year.
Oh, yeah. No, this year I managed to. I'm on track so far. So
only have a couple more days. You're so close to the finish line here.
Yeah. About a week.
Oh, boy. Left. Will you do that for Christmas too? Probably not. I feel like that'd be a lot worse. Christmas movies, all 31 days. Oof, that might be a little rough.
Well, it's not like I can go home for Christmas. So.
Oh, jeez. Well, Paul, for the people who don't know who you are, because this is the first time you've ever stepped foot in the PodCavern in any of our shows.
Yeah.
So, can you introduce who you are and what are the things that keep you happy besides just watching spooky movies every day during the pandemic?
Great. Well, hello, everybody. I am Paul JP. I'm a sort of all-purpose comedy man who... tell jokes, do improv, write play, do podcast, draw picture, all kinds of.
I love all these. I can just picture all-purpose comedy man. I picture a no-name bag of flour, but with your face on it, and then the ingredients is everything you just listed.
I mean, I think a bag of flour very accurately describes both.
But multi-purpose flour, right? Wait, is it all-purpose? All-purpose flour. So there's multiple facets to you.
Paul, and I'm roughly the shape of a bag of flour, so it all works out. The metaphor stands perfectly.
What is so what are the things like right now? Like obviously you were huge into comedy. Like when I
Mm.
started in comedy, I was like, this guy over here, super funny dude.
Aw,
And
thank
yeah,
you.
and I was just like, Paul's just killing. Now he's moving to Toronto and like moving to Toronto before I really got to get to know you. And
Yeah.
then seems like you're doing so well in Toronto. And still, really much were up until the shitstorm of COVID hit in 2020.
Oh, yeah.
But fuck that COVID stuff. We're here to talk about happy stuff. Like, what are the things at this
Yeah.
time that like keeps your mind kind of like active and happy?
Well, aside from the scary movies that I've been doing, I've also been doing Drawtober, which is
Ooh.
where me and my friend Amanda Elbeck, who you also know,
Mm-hmm.
we came up with, between the two of us, a list of 31 single word prompts that are just going to inspire a different drawing we do every day. And the idea there is not to create a perfect piece of art every day. It's really just to establish a positive habit, drawing
Yeah.
something every day, really making sure that we're practicing and
Yeah.
we're developing a routine with that. So that's,
Keeping your skills sharp, if you will.
yeah, exactly. It's something that I started doing a lot at the start of this whole lockdown thing, and then when my job opened back up, I lost it a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
I would be exhausted coming home from work dealing with just the difficulty of
Sure.
working in the service industry at a time like this. But
Right.
um, having that
Cool.
sort of accountability
Mm-hmm.
and having somebody who's uh, also doing something similar is really helped. And it's, I
Cool.
have, it's really inspiring me to not let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Oh, yes, yes.
Just trying to get something out there every day that I'm happy with, instead of
Yeah, just keep turning
perfectly
the corner.
100% satisfied with. So
Yeah.
that's
I
been really great.
I think that's like a mark of like how you practice your craft, right? Like for anything, it's like it's repetition more than like
Yeah,
nothing has to be, yeah, exactly what you said. Just nothing has to be perfect all the time. It's the fact that you're doing it and doing something is reward enough or should be reward enough, right?
yeah, and if you're doing it, you're gonna get better. I
Yeah,
mean, as long as you're not constantly cutting corners,
right. I
you're
love
doing
that.
it, you're putting in the hours, you are gonna get better at whatever you're doing, and then eventually things are gonna be the way that you the way that you see them in your head. So
I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to your Mona Lisa in a couple years. I was gonna say looking forward to your Mozart, and I'm like, nope, that's not. That's a completely different thing. That's unless you play piano. I'm not sure.
I tried
Paul,
teaching myself. I'm really not good at it yet. That sort of old Mitch Hedberg bit of, I tried teaching myself to play guitar, but I didn't know how to play, so I was not a good teacher.
I love Mitch Hedberg. Yeah, rest in peace. Paul, here we go. We are going into the news of the week. News of the week, but of course, on Talking Tongue, we talk about just fluff headlines that I find on IGN that are just the fun stuff. I'm huge
Yeah.
into pop culture. I believe you are too,
Oh yeah.
and there is let's just see, there's a lot of stuff that came out this week, but also, I mean, like, I'm not sure how excited you are about new video game consoles coming. Are you stoked about any of that stuff?
Um. Well, not really, but only in as much as I know that I'm not going to be able to afford a new one for a
Yeah.
really long time. The thing
Yeah.
is like I have a PS4, I have a Nintendo Switch, and my PS4 sees far and away the bulk of the actual playtime. I've been
Yep.
just draining hours of my life into Monster Hunter World right now.
Oh, you're playing that. Cool.
Oh
Are you
yeah, love
enjoying
it.
yourself?
Yeah, yeah. They've got the Fun Fright Fest going on right now, so
I don't even know what
oh.
that is. Probably just like an event thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just sort of a spooky sheen over everything where, oh, like this guy's got a Halloween costume and you can get the scary armor where there's bats flying around. And
Well,
the
this
gameplay is
actually,
exactly the same, but
but it
it's just a
looks
fun
spooky,
aesthetic.
which is the point.
Yeah.
Paul, this is actually great because last week I could sense that Christine gave no fucks about if I were to bring up Monster Hunter in any context. So I'm curious how you feel about the Monster Hunter movie that's coming out soon.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really.
It's just a trailer. It's
Just the trailer.
Mila. How do you say her last name?
Mila Jovovich.
Yes, yes. She will be. Do you know the premise at all? Do you want me to set it up for you?
I do, but set it up for everybody else.
Okay. I don't. Basically, in the Monster Hunter, and Monster Hunter, for people who don't know, is a Capcom video game where you're essentially fighting a bunch of monsters. You're killing them. You're making weapons and armor out of their like bones and skin,
Yeah,
and then you do it over and over again, and it's a lot of fun. It's very popular. This movie is made in such a way that it's like the military is kind of on a mission and they find some, I don't know if it's a portal per se, something basically transports them into a different world, the Monster Hunter world.
Yeah, the Monster Hunter world.
Yeah. And yeah, it's basically people that are not from that world in the Monster Hunter world. And I think it's just the wrong way to approach a movie like this. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, it's a very 80s or 90s way of approaching a movie like this where,
Yeah.
you know, rather than write something in the world or sort of based in the lore of the franchise, they're making it a little bit of a fish out of water story because, you know, for Western audiences, Monster Hunter is not really anywhere close to being a mainstream kind of thing.
Sure.
It's not really in anybody's consciousness outside of maybe hardcore video game fans. So if they want to make it something that's accessible to a lot of people, then I think they need to. I think they probably are going about this in the best way that they probably could.
Right.
Sort of having a bunch of people in an attack helicopter with machine guns go, and now they're in this Monster Hunter world where their machine guns aren't working so well, and they need to learn to do it in the way that the people in the video game world do it.
Right. So, guns don't work, but swords definitely work against these monsters.
Yeah. Yeah. they're very big swords.
They're very big swords, and they look really cool too. Yeah, I'm somewhat excited for it, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I love Monster Hunter, and I love those cheesy Resident Evil movies to an extent, but we'll see how this goes.
And I mean, it's the same director star team, so
it is okay. Well, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. How about we move on to this story here? And this one's very fitting for the Spookstober that we got going on here. Ooh. Is science has determined that Sinister, the 2012 movie, is the scariest movie of all time. How do you feel about this? I have all of these stats of why they think it's the scariest, but I'm just curious on your gut reaction. Is Sinister the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Sinister is not. I wouldn't say it's the scariest movie I've ever seen, but the first time I saw it, I was working for were they Alliance Pictures still, or were they E1 Net by that point? I was working for them doing advanced screenings of movies where we would give people a bunch of free passes, pack the theater, and then as they were coming out, just get their reactions and send those reactions to the studio. And they probably wouldn't do anything with those reactions because the movie's already coming out in 2 days. So I was seeing that, and somebody in the third or fourth row, I was sitting near the back of the theater, and somebody in the third or fourth row, camera flashes kept going off.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent the vast running time of the movie, like running in and out of the theater with security, trying to figure out who was taking pictures of the screen.
Oh,
So I associate that movie with that feeling of being really annoyed and not being able to do anything about it.
right, right. Huh. Were you able to watch the movie later and
I was
like
able to
try?
watch the movie later in a different context, yeah.
Yeah,
Somehow I hadn't seen it properly in theaters. Maybe I would have thought that was more scary, but yeah. I mean,
yeah.
felt
It
pretty
just.
well
I've
made.
never seen it. I've never seen it. I feel like it's something that I've been told to see, but I've also okay. So, like the study, I'll just read this out first.
Yeah, yeah.
The study measured resting heart rates of 50 individuals of different ages while they watched over 100 hours of scary movies. When all was said and done, the study had determined a list of the 35 scariest movies, and at the top of the list was Sinister. Rounding out the rest of the top 10 was The Conjuring, which came in third, Hereditary in fourth,
Mm.
Paranormal Activity in fifth. It Follows in sixth, and The Conjuring 2 seventh, and then you have like The Babadook, The Descent, and The Visit were 8, 9, and 10 respectively.
The Visit.
Yeah.
One of these things is not like the other. Wow,
There
The
you
Visit.
go.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of neat, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
Well, here's the thing that says to me is that sort of measures everybody's sort of anticipation in the moment, and it doesn't
yeah.
really speak to me about like what sticks with you and what you know has you looking over your shoulder in your own house that night.
There is something here that says that Sinister overall was the scariest, but 2010's Insidious was crowned the king of a particular jump scare that raised their heart rate to
Oh,
over 133 beats per minute, which was the highest beats per minute out of all of the movies that were watched. But it was just for like a particular scene. I also never saw Insidious, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that movie.
hey, I really liked Insidious actually. That one I did get to see in theaters in the proper context, and
Uh huh.
yeah, it definitely put me on edge. Man, out of that list that you read, The
Yeah.
Descent is one that's stuck out for me for a really long time. That came out like 15 years ago, and I still watch that at least twice a year.
Really?
It's
Twice a
great.
year? I should check it out. I
Yeah,
should check that out.
it's super, super
I
good. Do you know what it's about?
No.
So it's about these this group of women who go on like an extreme adventuring holiday like once a year. They're a group of friends that
Okay.
go way back. And after their holiday one year, as one of them is on the way home, they're in this horrible car accident. And her husband and her child are both killed in this car accident. And then we
Okay.
cut to the following year where they're going on their adventuring holiday again, and they decide that they're going to go into this cave network and just go caving,
Hmm.
spelunking.
Yeah.
And as they're down there, there's some sort of tremor or something, and the cave collapses behind them. And they
Oof.
have to then sort of go forward and try and find a way out of this cave system.
Is
And
there like is it like claustrophobic? Is that like the
oh my
scary part
god,
of
yeah,
it?
I can't even begin to describe like the secondhand claustrophobia is bananas. Uh,
Okay.
and then
I
a bunch of
That
other
sounds
stuff
uncomfortable.
happens.
I will
It's
give it a
incredible.
shot, but it sounds scary. I
It
guess
is,
that's the
yeah.
point. I guess
That
that's
one,
the point.
that one really, really sticks out to me. The Descent is so good, and then I mean, Hereditary is
Hmm.
incredible. It Follows is one of my favorites. Hereditary, I actually saw with my mom,
Wow.
which was a really interesting way
What
to
does she
watch that
feel?
movie. Yeah, she hated it. She thought it was stupid.
Oh, she wasn't even scared. She just thought it was stupid.
She just thought it was dumb. Which I
Oh.
mean, yeah, fair enough. It's it's a really strange movie, but I
It is
loved it so
strange.
much.
I like it. I like that movie. Speaking of scary, Borat 2 is out. Did you have a chance to watch Borat 2?
I did. I watched it last night, actually.
Okay, perfect. Because I also watched it like 2 nights ago. We don't have to go on a full review of Borat because that's not what today's episode's about. But
Sure.
I want
Yeah.
to know your surface feelings on Borat 2.
Surface feelings are that I'm really excited to hear a bunch of Borat impressions for a little while again. I think that was
Yeah.
my favorite part of 2007. But
Hmm.
um, in all seriousness, actually, I
Yeah.
think I really liked it.
Hmm.
I wasn't expecting the sort of more heartfelt moments to hit me as hard as they did. Maybe I've been
Right.
locked
Yeah.
inside too long, but there were a couple moments where I got a little misty eyed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
really liked it.
yeah, I completely agree with that. I was watching Borat and I'm like, what? There's feelings in this movie? Like, there's like moments where I'm like, that's a really sweet moment to happen. And I was thinking, like, it's just incredible how Sacha Baron Cohen, like, he just risks his life for comedy in like really bold ways. I guess,
Yeah,
like, he just puts himself in these real situations, get them filmed, and then like exposes specifically America in the last like decade or so.
yeah,
But it's very fascinating the way it's handled, and it was very funny and of course uncomfortable. But I think it was like obviously the perfect movie to come out right before the election.
mm,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
some cool ideas in there, and his daughter, I don't remember what her full name is. I think it's Maria something. She was incredible.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever watch? Let's see here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna skip that. What is your feelings on the Fast and the Furious franchise?
um, yeah, a lot of fun for sure.
I see. Do you love the Fast and Furious franchise? I'm trying to like gauge this here. Like, I feel like you
Um,
might be in that camp, but I don't know.
I don't know if I've ever seen one sober. Is the thing.
Okay, I see where this is going now. Is it fun, not sober, to watch Fast and Furious?
Oh, absolutely. Just yeah, boy.
Where would
They're
you like
so
to?
much fun. They're really really great.
Right? They're so dumb. They're so
Yeah,
dumb.
I like that they stopped taking themselves so seriously and
Hmm.
were able to
Hmm.
just go absolutely bananas while doing that sort of low melodrama.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is not a new take, but really, Fast Five was a was the pivot point for them
Yeah.
because there's some real bad ones before that. Are you? This is this. The story is that Justin Lin, who's been doing basically all of them, they are planning to end the movie, like the franchise,
Okay.
the mainline series by the 11th film. Now, the question is more, where would you like them to be in like a plot kind of way?
Ooh.
Like, for example, like, do you want them to go to space? Do you want them to time travel by the end of the 11th movie? How dumb do you want the Fast and Furious franchise plot to go?
All right. Well, let's sort of break this down. I believe it was revealed that they are going to space in the next one.
Someone rumored it, but I didn't follow it completely. Is that confirmed?
I think somebody rumored it, and then somebody, I want to say, confirmed it. So I'm just taking it in my heart that, yeah, they're going to go to space in the next movie. And then where do you go from there? So that's
Yeah,
what the next one that's coming out is the ninth one.
yeah, the ninth one.
So we got two more movies, and we have to figure out where they're going to go.
Mhm.
I think Cars at the Center of the Earth.
Okay.
That could be next.
Yeah.
And then after you do Cars at the Center of the Earth, we've got one more movie. Time travel seems, I think time travel might be beyond
It might be
this
too
franchise.
silly.
Yeah, I think that might be just a little bit too much because, I mean, at that point, if you're doing time travel, are you going back to like medieval times?
Okay,
And
okay, yes.
going around to
I-
that. In which case, Army of Darkness already did that.
right.
Or are you just going back to the world of the Fast and the Furious, like the first one? In which
That's what
case,
I was thinking. Yeah.
wow, where's Paul Walker? What are we going to do here?
So the way well, yeah, that's the problem. But I was like,
I think he
what
has a
if in the
twin
last
brother, or at
movie,
least a brother that looks a lot like him.
yeah, I was gonna think like, does Vin Diesel race himself in the first movie, in the last movie? Just like it's a time travel thing, and then like Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious 1, much more hard. Does he like just challenge him to like a street race, and that's how it ends? That's what I would like. Bring back nitrous is what I'm saying. Let's see here. A couple more stories here. Quibi is shutting down after 6 months. I've never used it. What do you have any strong feelings about Quibi?
No.
All right, let's move.
Also never used it.
Yeah, it looks bad, but let's move on. I think the last one that I'll bring. Yeah, they spent so much money on that thing. My God. The last story that I have for you today,
Okay.
Paul, is Jared Leto is coming back to play the Joker again in Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Any feelings about this? Man, the Snyder Cut, like, no, I need to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Snyder Cut?
So, Zack Snyder, man, I will forever go to bat for the Dawn of the Dead remake that he directed. I thought it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I don't know how much of a fan I am of what he's done. And so everybody's been talking about the Snyder Cut and how, yeah, it's going to come out. It's going to be really, really great. And I think people are kind of forgetting that, Justice League was a bad movie. And, if we just add more by a director whose track record isn't that good up to this point into that bad movie, does that make it a good movie, or does it just make it more of a worse movie?
Yeah, and it's 4 hours long, right? That's what they said it's going to be. It's a 4-hour.
4
No,
hours.
it's a 4-hour long movie, I believe, and they're going to release it on HBO Max, but like in parts, like as a 4-part thing. Release 1 hour at a time, I think is what their plan is.
Okay. Sure.
You're like, whatever. Because I'm reading here, like, they're bringing back, like, first of all, I believe the original thing was that Zack Snyder filmed everything that he needed to, and that all they need to do is HBO needs to pay him money to finish all the effects for the movie to kind of gussy it up, and then they can release it. Now there's actual reshoots happening with like the original cast members. We have like I don't know, a bunch of people coming back to like reprise their roles. I'm sure Jesse Eisenberg will come back as friggin' Lex Luthor, which he was a terrible Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Joe I can never say his last name, Manganiello. Like he was Deathstroke. He was like teased at the end to be Deathstroke, and then they kind of cut it. And then Leto's coming back, and nobody liked him as Joker, but he's coming back, baby. So
hey, Suicide Squad won an Oscar, okay? So
I know it did win an Oscar. Oh God,
for that Joker makeup. So
was that why? It was his costume, right?
It won best makeup, and you look at Jared Leto's face in that fucking movie. That's an Oscar-winning actor wearing Oscar-winning makeup.
Oh God,
that means it has to be a good character.
It has to
go in the Snyder Cut. I mean, can we just can we just ignore the Snyder Cut? Just let it come and go and focus on the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie that's coming.
Which looks good.
Starring fucking John Cena. I am so ready.
Yeah. His character is getting, which I think might be a spoiler for the movie, but they already announced that he's getting like a TV show, that character with John Cena on HBO Max.
Awesome. I am I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It looks, yeah. They released like a poster. It looks really cool. So I'm all in for Suicide Squad. Not so in for the Snyder Cut. But you know what? At this point, I need to see what it is. I really do. I'd watch 4 hours of it and then hate myself afterwards.
Yeah, I already watched Justice League once. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, I watched it twice like an idiot. So, all right, Paul, here we are. It's the time of the show where you get to introduce the movie that you chose for the week and why you chose it.
Oh, yeah. Right. So, yeah, you asked me to pick a spooky movie, a scary movie, something to watch for this podcast. And honestly, it might be the most difficult question I've ever been asked. Because, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a horror movie expert, but I would definitely call myself an enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
And my first instinct is always Friday the 13th.
Right.
It's one of my favorite things ever. I believe, yeah, I'm wearing my Friday the 13th hoodie right now. I love that franchise. And
yeah. Did you love every single movie from that franchise?
oh, the highs, the lows, they all have something to offer.
Mm-hmm.
I still maintain that at least Friday the 13th Part 2 is actually a good movie. The first one, yeah, the first one's got its moments. It's a bit hokey, but I did go see Friday the 13th in an actual movie theater like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never seen it on the big screen before. And I was sat right behind this couple. And one of them had seen the movie before, and the other one had very obviously not seen the movie before. And all of these big jump moments and dead bodies falling out of closets. And she would scream. And it was really nice to know that even a movie that is at this point 40 years old is still frightening in the right context.
Yeah.
So that's nice. We did not both watch Friday.
We did not choose that.
But that's always my first instinct. So I chose something that, to me, kind of evokes the spirit of old school slasher, which is the movie Hatchet.
One night, some mean children came to his house, and there was a bad fire. When his daddy chopped down the door to save him, he didn't know Victor was pressed against the other side. And poor Victor Crowley died.
I want to go home.
Hatchet 2006, I believe it is. It looks like
2006 or 2007.
So you've watched this before?
I have seen it before, yeah.
Okay, and how long has it been since you've watched Hatchet?
Maybe a year or two.
Okay. And was it a movie that you watched multiple times, like growing up and stuff, or is it like you've only seen it a few times maximum, kind of thing?
I mean, not something that I've watched like as much as I would have watched, say, Friday the 13th, but it's a really fun movie. It's got, I think, 3 sequels now.
Yeah, I was looking. There's a franchise with it. There's more than one. So I was like,
Hatchet 2, Hatchet 3, and then in 2017, there's a movie that's just called Victor Crowley that came out, and I haven't seen that one. I do have a copy now.
Oh, excellent!
So I think probably I will watch that tonight or tomorrow. Just like slide it right into my list for this month. But yeah, I just chose Hatchet because it's a lot of fun and it's kind of it's a very silly movie.
It really is.
By design, though, it's a love letter, I think, to those old school slasher movies.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I did not, and it's filmed in this way. It's supposed to be like evoke like the old school filmography of old slasher films, and like
it's very
over the
dark.
top. Yeah, very exactly. It's kind of grainy.
What's going on?
Yeah. And it's like over the top gore in the sense that's like not like I don't do too well with like super gory stuff, I guess. Like,
Right.
you know, when the Saw franchise and all they were doing was just like so fucking gory, like kills
Yeah.
and stuff. Like this was, it felt like Mortal Kombat is the best way to
It's
like.
over the top. You kind of have to. Kind of have to. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's over the top in such the way that Saw isn't. Like Saw is all, of course, very over the top, but it also goes for like a hyper realism
Yeah.
such that it can like shock and disgust you. Whereas this is very over the top in a very cartoonish way.
Yes, it made me laugh the way like the the humans went down. Like it is a slasher film. It's
Incredibly violent, incredibly gory, but I don't think is going to upset anybody's stomach.
No, like the blood effects are like so fake, but like in a hilarious way, I thought.
No CGI used in this movie.
Yeah, it's all practical is what it looked like,
which, yeah, you're always going to get a big check mark from me for something like that. I remember when in the lead up to the 2013 Evil Dead coming out,
Oof.
I was already really excited for it. And then my brother sent me an article where the director had come out and said, we didn't use any CGI in this movie. It was only to just sort of erase wires and hoses from various shots. And it melted my brain. I cannot say with enough bombacity how excited I was for 2013's Evil Dead. And I maintain that I was proved right.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Great movie. Hatchet,
yeah.
No
But
CGI in the same way. Like, really, yeah. It speaks to the affection, I think, that the director had for the subject matter. Which I can relate to. So
totally. I guess let's set it up here. So Hatchet, the story, like the general synopsis, I'll read the Wikipedia version, which is Ben and Marcus are college students in New Orleans enjoying Mardi Gras when they decide to go on a boat tour of an allegedly cursed bayou. Meeting up with several other tourists, including quietly beautiful Mary Beth, they are entertained by their guide Sean, who regales them with tales of a ghostly serial killer who wanders the swamp. They laugh off the stories until someone or something starts picking off members of the group. Quietly beautiful Mary Beth.
Quietly beautiful. That's she's both beautiful and quiet is the thing.
Yeah.
There is so much about why she's there, but quietly beautiful. Get fucked.
Right? There's so many stereotyped characters in this movie. And like I totally see it as by design too, which I can see someone like looking at this and being like, oh, I mean, like you have like the dumb blonde character, for example. Like she is
I mean, like this is the first person where I want to be like, there's so many cameos from horror legends in this movie. And I didn't notice it until this actual viewing, is that that dumb blonde is played by Mercedes McNabb, who played Amanda Buckman in the Addams Family movies in the 90s.
What?
Yeah, like the Girl Scout that they meet in the first one, and then she's the sort of all-American princess at the summer camp in Addams Family Values.
Oh my God.
That's her.
Crazy. Yeah, is there a lot of people from like the horror, like different horror franchises in here?
Like right at the beginning in the first scene, we see two guys like fishing for gators in the swamp in the bayou, and one of them is played by Robert Englund, who was Freddy Krueger in all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies until the 2010 remake.
Wow.
And then the first place they want to go on the Haunted Swamp tour and the first place they go to is Reverend Zombie.
Okay.
And Reverend Zombie is played by Tony Todd, who was Candyman in the Candyman movies. And then really the big one for me, because I've already talked a lot about Friday the 13th, is that Victor Crowley himself, and also Victor Crowley's dad in a flashback, played by Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in 4 of the Friday the 13th movies.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah. They're all over the place.
Wow, that's crazy. And Victor Crowley, obviously, is his best role out of everything he's ever done.
It's great. I got the chance to meet Kane Hodder once at Ottawa Comic-Con.
Nice guy?
Super nice guy, yeah. There was, I think his sort of like table time was scheduled at the same time as some other enormous star from like The Walking Dead or Doctor Who.
Sure.
So there's a giant, enormous lineup, and I'm not a fan of Doctor Who. Like, I will never take it away from anybody, but it just doesn't interest me. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Kane Hodder. And there wasn't anybody in line because everybody was there to meet, like, you know, big star from The Walking Dead.
Whatever, Norman Reedus or whatever.
Yeah, and so I just walked up to the desk, and there he was, and we talked for like 10 minutes.
Amazing.
Just super great dude. And he signed a picture for me from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. And... and it says, to Paul, you're next.
Oh, that's amazing. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, just like a super, super nice guy. And,
you know,
anytime I see him in anything, I'm so excited just because he's a guy in something that I'm a huge fan of. And he was a really, really nice person. So
it makes me think that we should have really just watched Friday the 13th, like you originally said, until I shut it down.
Well, it's...
I didn't mean to. I knew you liked it. I didn't know you loved it at the fervor. Someone else in the network already did Friday the 13th. We should have just done it. But Hatchet.
But Hatchet.
I feel like a lot of our conversation today is like Friday the 13th, but Hatchet. But hey, listen, like I have to say, like, as someone who has never seen Hatchet and never would have until you recommended it, or rather said we should watch it. Like, it is a good movie. Like, it's really fun. It's really dumb.
So much fun. Yeah.
I don't think anyone's taking it like hyper seriously. As someone who, again, doesn't like the super gory stuff, I just thought it was so cartoonish gory. Like, I think my favorite kill was when one of the first kills is when Victor Crowley comes up with, by the way, he looks goofy as like a villain, but in a really fun way, I guess. Like, yeah, I don't know. Something about the way he walks is like, I know he's supposed to be super scary, but he's just kind of made me laugh, but in a fun way. Like, I'm not making fun of like his design. I just liked it.
He's wearing what seems to be like 60, 70 pounds of prosthetics on his upper body.
Exactly. And he chops up the old man in the movie, but completely in half. And then he grabs like his diagonally. And then he grabs his wife and like splits her head open by like taking her like mouth and like lifting it both ways, I guess is the best way to describe it. And just like completely exploding her head. And I was like, this is awesome.
And from there, it just takes off. I mean, this is like, and I really appreciated about a solid 60 seconds of buildup of the two of them just slowly limping towards the cabin, calling for help. And it's like, oh, we hear the cries of Victor Crowley, the ghost. And it's like, oh, is this actually going to be like a little bit kind of scary, everything? And then he just bursts out of nowhere. There's this horn music that's so loud. And then he just is ripping people in half with his bare hands. As people are screaming and scattering. And it's the funniest goddamn thing. It's so good. Yeah.
And I want to talk about it like, there's those moments where I'm just laughing and having so much fun with, but the movie itself has so many comedy moments. Like I would say it's a comedy horror slasher.
Absolutely, yeah.
How did you feel about like the comedy in the movie itself?
Oh,
Like the jokes written for it.
I got a real kick out of it. There's definitely a lot. It for me starts with when they go to visit Reverend Zombie at the beginning, and he tells them that he can't take them on a haunted tour of the swamp.
Yeah.
And he's very slowly telling the story about this incident that happened on Halloween night last year.
Mhm.
And there was a young boy who wanted to get a closer look at the ghost lights in the swamp, and they're building it up, and he slips. And whoa, what happened? Did he get eaten by a crocodile, or did he fall into the swamp and he was lost forever? Did a ghost take him? No, he hit his head on the roof of the boat and he sued me, and now I can't afford the liability insurance. So I don't do tours anymore. And that's it for this cameo from horror legend Tony Todd.
It was so funny because he comes out and he's like wearing like that mysterious mask and cape, and it's just they set it up so well. Fuck man, the movie's genuinely cheesy, campy, funny, and there's like I wrote down the Jack Cracker line and
Jack Cracker.
Jack Cracker, and then like later someone is. I'm not sure if the Jack Cracker line is in reference to. There's a part where they're talking about Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker as well for the Asian character, which I thought I think it's played by, let's see, Perry Shen, which I guess he's been in all of the Hatchet movies somehow, and even though his character dies, spoilers. But he comes out with like this really like over the top Southern accent, and then he starts like spurting like Louisiana. Chinese. Yeah. Chinese later. And then I think like a little bit of an American accent comes. So I feel like that character.
He reveals that he's from Detroit.
Yeah. It's all
normal sort of Detroit accent.
Yeah. So he has like 3 different accents in that movie. And I was like, this guy's probably having the time of his life right now.
Oh, yeah. It's great. And I love one of his lines. It was, I think, one of my favorite lines in the movie where, they're going through the swamp and then the boat hits a tree and sinks, and they're now stranded in the swamp. And as they see Victor Crowley's ghostly cabin, one of the tourists turns to him and says, "Please tell me this is part of the tour." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I sink the boat every night. It's hilarious." Just so much venom. It's like, please tell me this is part of the tour. Like, you fucking idiot.
What did you think about let's just say the trio of the movie? You have Ben, who is the main character. You have Mary Beth, the quiet yet beautiful character.
Beautiful Mary Beth.
Yeah, and Marcus, his let's just say his token best friend who comes along but doesn't want to be there. He'd rather be at Mardi Gras looking at boobs.
Yeah, which is a sort of weird inversion of that trope that all the immoral people are the ones who die in your typical slasher movie.
Right, yeah.
You do drugs, you're going to get killed. And there's sort of that inversion of that, of everybody who stayed behind to get wasted and have sex. They all probably had a great time.
They probably had the best time of their life.
It's a very conservative kind of attitude that 80s slashers had, despite being so violent and promiscuous.
Yeah.
It's like, well, all these people are going to be punished for being promiscuous.
So the 3 of them, like, did you like their dynamic, or was there any standout moments for them, I guess?
I thought Marcus was a great character.
Right? Yeah, he was.
Super, super funny.
Yeah, he had a bunch of lines in the movie. Not only was he just goofy like him, just like jumping up on the tree, like when he's scared and he just wouldn't come down from the tree. But there's a part where they're doing like a standoff with Victor Crowley and they're trying to lure him out. And I didn't write down like exactly what he said, but he's insulting Victor Crowley in like really dumb insults, I guess he would say. And he would say the line and then he would like I don't know, he would cower right away. And I thought his
Immediately
facial
shift
expression.
to being terrified.
Yeah. So he'd say his insult, be terrified. Say his insult, then be terrified. And I was like, he's just nailing this right now.
Yeah, really, really great. Say it's like, your face looks like you got molested by wolves.
Yeah.
Which is a really weird thing to say, and then immediately scared of like, I shouldn't have said that to this murderous swamp ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any, I guess, any other highlight scenes in the movie that you really enjoyed?
There was something I thought was in this one, but must have been in one of the sequels. Because here's the thing about this movie ends very, very suddenly.
Yeah.
Sort of in the middle of this horrifying ordeal. They're struggling, and then it just cuts to black, and then credits roll. Marilyn Manson playing. But Hatchet 2 starts literally right there.
Really?
It continues. Yeah, and then the same thing happens at the end of Hatchet 2. It ends very, very suddenly, and Hatchet 3 picks up the second Hatchet 2 ends. So you could string them all together and just watch like, a 3.5 hour goofy movie like this.
Would you say they're all on par with each other, or is it more like Hatchet, like is only the first one like worth your time?
I would say they're definitely all, I think, a lot of fun. Well, because one of these things that I thought was in the first one, and I guess must have been in one of the sequels, is sort of Victor Crowley steps out from behind a tree, and you can see that he's holding a chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
And then the character who he's about to, get, holds up also a chainsaw that's like,
oh my God,
bigger.
Yeah.
Like, and then Victor Crowley steps out from even further from behind the tree, and you can see that the chainsaw he's holding is like 8 feet long.
Okay.
Oh no. And then in the struggle, like the guy that's getting killed ends up like tripping and falling on top of the 8-foot long chainsaw and getting sawed in half.
Oh my God.
That's kind of the attitude of these movies. Crazy shit like that. So I would say Hatchet 2 and Hatchet 3 definitely worth watching. I'm going to check out Victor Crowley in the next couple of days, and I'm really hoping that the spirit of it is the same, because boy, they're so much fun at their like frenzied, crazy peak.
Yeah, definitely. There's like the let's see, what other kills do we have in the movie that just made me laugh? Like there's like the grinder to the face, which was like kind of gnarly, but
yeah,
like grinder to the face, and then you have like, I don't know, I think he uses like a shovel to like chop off like the Asian character's like foot, and then he like uses the shovel to like, chop off his head, or even like Marcus like rips his 2 arms off, that kind of thing, and like
his already dead body just picks it up and slams it against a crypt.
Oh, he can, and then it just like explodes into like a big bloody goop, and it's just great.
Yeah,
really.
And then there's the scene where they impale Victor Crowley on the end of a sort of a railing, and he seems to be dead, and they lean in to get a closer look, and with his dying breath just breathes out a whole bunch of blood right into his sort of last gasp of this dying body. But of course, he comes back because he's a ghost, and you can't kill a ghost with
kill the ghost
stick.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. And I also, the ending, like you're saying it ended abruptly, when it totally did, but I thought it was like a really great ending at the same time. Like I was just like, ooh, that's a spooky ending. Like she falls into the water. They're like, the 2 main characters, they get out essentially. Mm-hmm. And then she falls into the water or gets grabbed and gets pulled under the water. And then
direct homage to what else? Friday the 13th.
Is that okay? There you go. There's so many. Okay. A lot of parallels.
The final scene of Friday the 13th. She's our final girl. She's in a boat, and we think she's all okay. And then, I mean, spoilers for a 40-year-old movie. Jason Voorhees is not the killer in Friday the 13th. It's his mom getting revenge because her son drowned in the lake. And as she's in the boat floating off and the peaceful music and everything, the sort of rotted, drowned corpse of Jason Voorhees rises from the water and grabs her and pulls her in. This legendary scare. And yeah, sort of direct homage there in at the end of Hatchet, which is great.
Yeah, because Victor Crowley uses like Ben's arm to like pull her out of the water.
It's incredible.
And then you're like, holy shit, Ben's fucked. And then she comes out and she just screams in front of Victor Crowley, and then it just ends. And it's just like
back right in her face. Ah!
Yeah. It's a clean hour. I think it's like an hour and a half movie. So
something like that.
This is definitely the best movie that I've watched, or I would say like this month. I've watched a lot of spooky movies for this month's episode of Talking Tongue, and I would say Hatchet was the most fun I had with horror movies this month. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I was able to bring that into your life. Hey, 3 more of them.
Yeah, I'm excited. You tell me how Victor Crowley is, but I'm going to watch Hatchet 2 and 3 after this, probably. All right, Paul, we're at the point of the show where you have to rate this movie. We've been gushing blood about this movie, but I need to hear your final thoughts. How would you rate this movie?
Well, I was in the Boy Scouts of America in my youth and learned a lot about, very axes, hatchets, that kind of thing for wilderness survival, building fires and stuff like that. And I feel quite comfortable pointing out that the axe that Victor Crowley uses and that his father uses in the flashback when we learn about the horrible origin story of Victor Crowley is a 2-headed axe and therefore not a hatchet. So I give this movie 0 out of 1 hatchets because there are no hatchets in the movie.
Wow, is that true? They didn't even get a real hatchet for this film?
It's just an axe. It's just a small axe.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Great. You heard it here. 0 out of 1 hatchets, but that's
my rating for hatchet and axe enthusiasts. But as a horror movie, it's fucking great. So
yeah. I agree. But now it definitely loses a mark now for not using a real hatchet in the film. Maybe in the sequels. Maybe in Victor Crowley.
Yeah, maybe in Victor. Yeah, that would be a real shame if in the first 3 Hatchet movies he never uses a hatchet, and then in Victor Crowley he finally has one.
All right, Paul.
One up.
Yeah, Paul. We are at the end of the show. Do you have anything to plug for the people at home?
I sure do. Because comedy had to take a little bit of a back seat in these trying pandemic times. It took me 6 months to strike upon the idea of turning a live show that I used to produce into a podcast. So on all your various podcatchers, feel free to look up The Pen is Mightier, which is a erotica and fan fiction competition where we get comedians to either write their own erotica or find some fan fiction online and give dramatic readings of it. And it is honestly just the most fun. Just funny people reading porn.
Yeah, and you produced this show back in Ottawa for a few years too, and then you brought it to Toronto.
And then I was producing it here in Toronto. So I think the first fan fiction show I did was like 5 or 6 years ago at this point.
Wow. That's so funny to me that like it just seems I didn't even think about like turning that show into a podcast. It seems like such a I don't know. It seems like something that would have happened a long time ago, but it's I'm happy that you are doing it now.
Oh yeah, it's not the first fan fiction show out there, but I think it might be the only one left.
It's also the best one.
That's what I keep telling people.
Well, Paul,
we're not at the 20,000 US downloads that I need to monetize it yet.
Oh, geez, don't worry.
Episodes.
At 5 years in the PodCavern, we are also not at the 20,000 mark. Paul, thank you so much for being in the PodCavern today. King Boo.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I am very much looking forward to your Victor Crowley review.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch it. I think
I kind of want to watch Friday the 13th now, though.
Hey, it's really good, and I am an apologist for the 2008 remake. I don't know. If you count the remake, there are 11 Friday the 13th movies.
Oh my lord. Do you count Freddy versus Jason in that?
You know what? I think I do. I mean, Jason does all the killing in that. Freddy Krueger is there just kind of like pulling the strings behind the scenes. But yeah, it feels like more of a Friday the 13th movie than it does a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. So
I should give that another shot. I remember being kind of spooked by that movie, but I'd give it another shot. Friday the 13th, 11 of them. I'll watch the first one.
Watch the first one. Watch, I would say the second one. And then feel free to skip to part 10.
Oh my lord, okay.
Which is Jason X, which is where Jason Voorhees goes to space.
Shut up. No way.
Yeah, he goes to space. He's played by Kane Hodder in that one. So we've got our boy Kane. And it's so good. That one I really like. It's very aware of the silliness of Jason being in space. Point where they, the characters are telling jokes. One of them is this hardened space marine who's tracked Jason into this cargo hold, and he's got his back up against a wall looking around a corner, and he gets stabbed with a machete through the wall. And this space marine captain says, "It's gonna take more than that to bring down this old space dog." And then he's stabbed again. And he says, "That ought to do it," and he dies.
Okay, you sold me.
So yeah, watch the first two Friday the 13th movies, and then feel free to skip to Jason X, because Jason
X sounds amazing. You first use Jason in space sounded stupid, but now it's stupid in the right ways. So there you go.
Great.
For me, you can find the rest of the shows in the PodCavern at www.podcavern.com. Check out all the shows there. This is the last week of the Spookening, but you know what? Fuck it. Maybe we'll just watch more spooky movies down the road, because why not? I like them.
Keep that spirit in your heart all year. Wear a witch hat for Christmas.
Fuck Christmas. We're doing the Spookstober in December.
You heard it. I guess not here first. You heard it from Melania Trump, but now you're hearing it from me. Fuck.
Paul, do you want to end with your very famous catchphrase?
Was that not it? Fuck.
Fuck Christmas. Okay, fuck Christmas, everyone. Bye.
Bye.